Congratulations, you have a sibling. Not so fast. Have you taken a DNA test before and gotten a close match? And if so, that's usually the first thing you hear, right? You'll hear people say, like, that must be your sister. Congratulations, that must be your brother. Congratulations. But let's look at the facts. To do this, I'm going to pull up DNA Painter. And let's just look at it for a minute. In order for somebody to be even your half sibling, you have to match somewhere between this range of 1160 to 2436 centimorgans, shared centimorgans. Let me back up and say that, first of all, if you're not familiar with a centimorgan, that is just the degree to which two people are related. So the more centimorgans there are, the more degree of relativity that there's going to be between those two people or relatedness. So this DNA painter, which you're probably familiar with if you've been in the world of, DNA testing for a while and trying to piece together your family tree, this DNA Painter site is a site that shows how to do that, how to look at these matches and see kind of what they mean. Now, they're based on tests that have actually occurred, and these relationships were proven to be confirmed. So they know that people who match, the lowest range for a sibling has been 1613. 1,613 shared centimorgans. And the highest range for a half sibling has been 3488. So the average is 2613. Likewise, for a half sibling, 1160 is the lowest, 2436 is the highest, and the average is 1759. So if it's outside of these, odds are, well, it's pretty clear that it's not a sibling or a half sibling, right? And there's other factors as well. The age of you and the person testing, because the thing about DNA is there can be anomalies, there can be situations like double cousins. There can be um, there's a range that a relationship falls into. And the thing about the DNA is it overlaps, right? So you might you might be a half sibling in this range, but you see that there's also other relationship possibilities, right? So I could match somebody at uh, 1537 centimorgans, which is actually a DNA match that I have. And they could match me at the level of being a grandparent, an uncle, a half sibling, a nephew, or a grandchild. Well, in this case, this match to me is right around my age. So I know that rules out grandchild, that rules out grandparent, but it still leaves some room for debate about which of these other ones, right? Because, you know, aunts and uncles can be similar in age to their nieces and nephews if the situation is right in the family. And there's also other anomalies to consider, like double cousins, which isn't even covered in DNA Painter. But that's another relationship possibility um, at that range. I know because I've studied it. Um, and so DNA can be tricky in that way. And there are qualified teachers out there who teach all of this. But the question is, how long do you want to take to learn? Do you want to really have to become a DNA expert to solve your own search? I'm Jenna Jaquila. I run Mystery Match DNA. And I help people with all sorts of mysteries in their DNA results. So, um, a lot of the people that teach DNA, um, like about genetic genealogists and such, are coming from the perspective of, okay, so you've got all these people in your family, and you can get all these people to test and you compare their results, and then you're trying to figure out maybe one or two people, you don't know where they fit on the tree. And it's kind of like, oh, isn't that amusing? We're second cousins and we never knew it, kind of thing. But what I deal with is people who have a whole tree full of mystery matches. So let's say that you're adopted. Let's say that you have a PNE case, parentage not expected, where you found out that the person you thought was your father is not actually your father. Um, so those are the kind of cases that I deal with and that I can help you with in your search. And yes, there are free search angels in groups out there, free groups that help with this sort of thing. But many are based on emotion. They go off emotion. They say things like, congratulations, this is your half sibling, without really doing the research sometimes. Um, they may not look at the full picture. They may be sloppy and maybe can't dedicate the time that you want or need for your search to be able to piece together full results. And they may actually make assumptions based on the results. Um, they may say, come to this kind of conclusion without actually looking at the situation. And I would caution you not to come to conclusions either, looking at the situation. So, a situation like this, where you have to narrow it down, you have to look at some of the story that's involved, maybe. Um, were your parent and this person in the same location at the same time? Um, or I guess your parents in the location was the parent that is the suspected parent of your suspected half sibling. Were they in the right location at the right time to have had somebody who's actually your half sibling? The story, you look at the story, but that's definitely not what you want to go on because, as the saying goes, um, people lie, the DNA doesn't lie. You've heard that so many times before, and it's true because at the end of the day, you can't rely on what the story is to tell you the answer. And you've probably seen that before where the DNA totally refutes something that somebody's been told and they just refuse to believe evidence to the contrary because they were told a story that they're hanging on to. So the story is a good starting point, but you have to look at what the DNA says. And the sad thing is sometimes there are kind of some messy mysteries that don't necessarily get solved. But what I can do is help you clarify down to the letter what this means, what the possibilities are, and save you the trouble of having to become a DNA expert to figure it out. And I can help you piece together your tree of unknown matches based on the matches that you do have. I can help you kind of try to patch together a narrative of how they all fit into the tree and where you fit in based on the best evidence that we have. And I'll tell you honestly, um, where to go. If you book a DNA strategy session with me, then by the time you're done with the session, you'll know what the results mean, where to go next, and what your next line of action, next course of action should be. So, I hope this video was helpful, and whatever you do, whether you book um, a consult on my website, which is mysterymatchdna.com, or not, I just hope that you will consider this your invitation to look into your results more seriously and not just make assumptions based on other people getting excited and wanting to say that you have a sibling or a half sibling without actually looking at the evidence. You want to look at the full evidence with somebody who's qualified to break it down for you, um, and learn it yourself. And don't even take just what I say, for face value. Like, ask me questions and I'll explain how I came to that conclusion, you know? Um, so anyway, that's the end message here is do your research, do your own research for yourself. Um, and even if you don't want to do the full research, you come to me, I will give you a full breakdown of what I see, kind of the 10,000-foot overview. And so, like I said, go to mysterymatchdna.com to book that.